My name is Eileen. I grew up in Jamaica, mostly. I grew up in a very privileged upbringing. I had a father who was a diplomat. I lived all over the world, well, all over the Western world. And so that was my upbringing in Kingston. Several years ago, I got a chance to go back to Jamaica and live and work there as an adult. I have two stories I want to tell you, both of them involving people who were part of the Migrant Workers Program, where agricultural workers, of course, as you know, come up to North America and work for months at a time, far from their families, and remit their wages home every Friday to keep the family going. But it's much more than that, and I have two particular people in mind as I tell you these stories. One was a taxi driver, probably still is. The other was a security guard at the place I lived, a gated community. This is Kingston, remember. Both of them were talking about how fortunate they had been to be enrolled in the program, and for very similar reasons. It allowed them to send home money that not only kept their families slightly better off than they would have been otherwise, because it's still a very classist and difficult society if you have no money, but more importantly, it allowed them to send their children to schools where they could afford the books, the shoes, the uniforms, because every Jamaican knows that the way out of their circumstances is education for their children. And so no matter what the price they pay, no matter what the hardships, they are happy to pay that price to give their children a better chance. And those were two stories that really touched my heart, because I was fortunate enough not to have to experience that kind of an upbringing. But aren't these children lucky that their daddies were willing to do this for them? So every time I see a worker in the fields around here, I remember those two men, the taxi driver and the security guard, whose children are better off because of the Migrant Workers Program.